Hi, if you are scared about the coronavirus, but you are in a policy maker's position or you are an investor, then this episode is for you because in this episode I'm going to talk about data. Data, why data is so important for your analysis. If you're doing any economic analysis, the impact of the coronavirus, etc., on the global economy, you need to have data. That's the essence of this episode, and stay with me because it's going to be awesome. Hi, my name is Runika Mira, and as you know, every Friday I bring you the Data Analysis and Policy Show. This show is about turning data into analysis so that you can create the right policy. What kind of data are we talking about? We're talking about whether it is country data, whether it is data about your investment portfolio, whether it is data about China, whether it is data about the United States economy, all that data. Why is it so important? Now, why would you want to listen to me? Because I have been in this business for the last 24 years, and in the last 24 years I've created 10 macroeconomic model. A macroeconomic model is a spreadsheet containing all the data from a country, and it turns data into analysis, into a consistent framework, and from that you can make simulations. So go to my website www.calmera.nl, and then you will see what those models are about. I created models for the 8 islands of the Eastern Caribbean and 2 islands of the Dutch Caribbean. So right here from Policy in Paradise, from Curacao Willemstad, let's start. Okay, why is it so important to have data? Why is it important to have data? Do you, if you are a policy advisor, if you are an investor, oftentimes you feel, where is my data? There is not enough data. There is data maybe all scattered all over the place, data in the spreadsheets. It's kind of very complicated, and without that data, if you don't have organized data, if you don't have a system, a framework, a process to organize that data, then you are in trouble. So I'm going to show you just in a while, I'm going to show you why data is so important, for instance, for the coronavirus. And if you are here already, let me just make you a little bit, let me tell you about, basically tell you about, give you about a link. And this link, if you are on a mobile phone, maybe you will see in that link, you will see some infographics with real figures about the coronavirus, and those figures are being updated constantly. So that's just my giveaway for you, the data about the coronavirus, all in all the countries in the world, globally, what is happening right now. And if you click on that, just stay with me with this episode, but if you click on that, you will see how important it is for data. I will not show you that in this episode. I will show you some other kind of data, but just for you to know, it is important data. So just talking about, if you clicked on that link, maybe you can do something else for me. Share this episode on your screens. Share this episode on your Facebook book page so more people will see it. So there is data. Data is important and data is key. So the coronavirus tells us that you need to measure things. You need to be working with quantitative data. It is not enough to just say, okay, my investment portfolio is increasing, but you want to know how much. It is not only necessary to say, okay, I am investing in the United States and I'm investing in China, but how much? What is and the second thing is, when you run a simulation, when you run an impact analysis, you really want to know to turn data into policy and into analysis. What do I mean? I mean that if you run a simulation for a country, for instance, what are the effects of the coronavirus on an island like Antigua and Barbuda, or an island like Curacao, or an island like St. Martin, you want to know exactly how much it's going to affect your economy. It doesn't say like, hey, the economy is going to decline. How much is it going to decline? How many jobs can be lost? How much does the tourism need to grow back to change the impact of coronavirus? You see, so data is very important. That's why in my framework, in my economic analysis framework, I call them macroeconomic models. Those spreadsheet models and also other programming language models like Python models, in those models I put a lot of effort on getting the data right. Getting the data right. During the last week, for instance, I've been working with my team, and my team is spread all over the world. I've been looking for with my team about data, and we are focusing on a new data source. Do you know how many problems you get by collecting that data? By cleaning that data, because that data might not be correct. By organizing that data, because that data is maybe in a format which is not correct. So putting data a priority is the first step of your analysis. That's basically what I want you to get right. If you are studying whatever you're studying, the database is the first thing that you really need to put a lot of attention to. For instance, the corona crisis, people. Today we had a press. There was a press meeting of the Prime Minister of Curacao. They talked about the coronavirus, but you need to know exactly how many people are coming from the Netherlands to Curacao, for instance, because they decided to close the borders, which is good. They closed the borders for the island. No other people are allowed to come from Europe, but you cannot base a decision like that just on a guessing. You need to know how many tourists are coming normally in March, January, February, March, April, May, June, in the second quarter. How many tourists are coming normally to the island? Because if you don't know those numbers, then you can make a decision. If it is high season, for instance, right now, and you decide that, you will end up ruining the economy. You understand? So the numbers are very important. Having a database is very important. I will talk in other episodes about my framework. Having a framework where you do your analysis is also key. The IMF has a financial programming framework. And in that financial programming framework, where they have the data organized, they have the data for all the countries of the world. You see, the same data set, the same set of data, the same variables, they have it for all the islands and all the countries in the world. They have it for China, they have it for the United States. So having that data in an organized way, not having to have changes all the time of the data. So if you are analyzing Curacao right now, it's different data set than if you are analyzing China. Having that will cause trouble, because if you don't have a fixed data set with the indicators, you cannot do repetitive analysis. You cannot do the same analysis anymore. You cannot do what if analysis. You understand? You cannot benchmark. You cannot compare one island with another country. You cannot compare anything. So because I have this framework for the 10 islands of the Eastern Caribbean, and we are building 10 islands of the Eastern Caribbean plus 2 islands of the Dutch Caribbean, because I have this framework, and it is exactly the same framework with the same data set, with the same indicators, that's why I'm able to compare those islands. That's why I'm able to do the analysis the same time, every time, and change it. You understand? So having a database in your economic framework is very important. The second step is I will be talking also about other parts of the economic framework, but having the data set is very important. Now, let me go to my screen to show you data, because we are already up 7 minutes left. So I'm going to give you a screen. So this is my screen. This is my screen, and I'm here. So that's the data over there. And I will also give you the link. Let me give you the link of this episode. Just copy it, paste it over there, so that you can look at it after this episode. So look at this. I just picked up a second website that I'm giving you. Story maps. Why is it important? So importance in this case, the data of the data of the coronavirus. In this case, the data of the coronavirus is the geographical data is very important. You see, so the data we have now, the dimension of that data, one of the dimensions of the data, one of the attributes of that data needs to be the country, because right now it's a global phenomenon. So if you don't have, if you have data and you know exactly which country, so you have for each data point, for each variable, for each value you have a country linked to it, you can plot it on a map. You understand? So if you don't have that data, imagine you don't have that data on a map, on a country, for every data point you don't have, like, is it in Russia, is it in Istanbul, is it in China, you cannot plot it on this map. But if you have it, you are able to plot it. So here you see already that China, Italy, and Iran are the basic places, and also South Korea. A friend of mine went to South Korea a couple of weeks ago. They had their internet offering exchange for their company, gaming.io. Thanks to my friend, and they had a lounge in South Korea. You see, Japan. Don't worry, that friend lives in Switzerland, so I didn't have any contact with it. And this is the beauty when you have a live digital show. You see, so Tokyo. So up here you already see that data. Now, how is that data turned? The data is turned. Here you see a bigger circle. That means that there is much higher population. So what they do with this graph is they turn the data. If it's like 1,000 people or 3,000 people, you will see that data turned into a bigger circle. So that's another thing we see. How do you visualize the data, and what does the data mean? Because you have to turn data into analysis, and analysis here is basically, if you have a bigger circle, you already know that it is a problem. It's a bigger problem over there. Now, what I can do, what I could do, just let me come back. What I could do is actually, I could just take flight data. Imagine this, I could take flight data about where the airplanes are going, and then plot that flight data on top of the data we just saw. Imagine that, because what you want to see right now is basically that those are the areas where there is a lot of coronaviruses, incidents of coronaviruses, and the next thing you want to see is you want to see where are the hubs of the airplane. So imagine you have a website, and I know that websites exist. Imagine you have a website that plots where does those like flying from Amsterdam to Curacao, Amsterdam to Italy. Then you have more information, so you add another data point to this point of corona. Why is that important? The analysis is, why would I want that data? Because the analysis is, where are people flying to? If there are like 12 airplanes flying from Amsterdam to Italy, or from Amsterdam to Curacao, or from Amsterdam to Bahamas, or from Amsterdam to USA all the time, then you know what is potentially the spreading of the coronavirus. Now, President Trump decided to shut America down. But once you know, on top of this, once you know which flights are going normally, then you can estimate how much capacity, flight capacity is. How many tourists are traveling from Amsterdam to Curacao. So I'm going to show you, for instance. So what I'm talking about specifically is from Amsterdam going. So let's zoom in a little bit. So from Amsterdam there going to United States, there is a hub. Because I know that Amsterdam flies to a lot of places. You see? Now, another thing of the data you see here, I hit here and I see 804 cases and 10 deaths have been reported in the Netherlands. And that's why, because I clicked there. So the data, now we can do our analysis, because when you click on that data point, you see something adding up. You see? Something added up. How many deaths there are. You see? So this is a dynamic thing, and if you need to create a report, then you need to have this framework, and you need to have the tools, and you need to have the knowledge for mapping this up. Now this can be updated all the time. So probably this has a data source that is being updated all the time. And one way to do that is you need to use programming language, Python. That's why I'm focusing and giving my clients also, the clients who have who want to participate in programs, who are participating in programs to become data scientists. That's why I'm giving them also other tool sets. But this is about data. Now look at this. How many cases confirmed and how many deaths? This is probably being added and changed all the time. You see? So you have basically a global dashboard of what is happening. Okay? Let me see how much time you have. We don't have a lot of time, but I will focus. You see here a graph. So what is the information plotted? The total case is red and the recovery is blue, and they don't plot how many deaths. But you see it is increasing exponentially here. You know exactly. Let me see how much it is. So it is 100,000. So up to March 9, up to March 13, this is basically updated all the time. Up to March 13, 2020, it is 137,000 people. Okay, look at this. Now you can go how it spread. This is data about how it spread exactly, and we can continue with what is this. This is maybe the impact, the economic impact. Okay, so I went to another page, but this is basically the situation. This is basically the situation that that data is giving you. Okay, so I will scroll a little bit more. This is the people in quarantine cities, South Korea. So you can really dive in the world and see what is happening and how it is happening. I posted on my Facebook and on my Facebook page, and also on my LinkedIn profile. My LinkedIn profile, you have to look at it, Calmera. I posted a video about why it happens in China. Why are those outbreaks in China, in Wuhan? Why is it happening in Wuhan? And it is very interesting to read, because that can mean that this is not the last time. If nothing is happening in China to contain that, it will not be the last time that this virus is happening. that these outbreaks are happening. So check that video, and I wanna go a little bit further with another information. Let me see. So you see a lot of things in here. So no more further information about the data. So I want to close out. Thank you very much for being here. If you have any questions, I didn't receive any questions, but if you have any questions, just put the questions below in the comments, and I will answer them. I will try to answer them. And please, what I wanted you to say, I wanted you to do a couple of things. Share this episode with your friends on your wall. Just click and share. It doesn't cost you anything, but that's the way you can pay me by inspiring me to continue doing these live episodes, which is about data analysis and policy. That's the first thing to do. The second thing to do is like this page, because if you like this page, then you will be notified when there is another episode. Sometimes I tell people that there is an episode. I'm not going to message you a lot of things, but like this episode so that we know exactly, we can bring more of these episodes to a global level, not only the Caribbean, but also a global level. And if you want to be part of my community, please click on m.me/policy in paradise, and a chat box will open, and Anna, my chatbot assistant, will ask you a couple of questions, and then simple questions. Within 3 minutes you are onboarded. If it doesn't take 3 minutes, tell me, because then I will need to train Anna to do this process faster. And by training Anna, I mean that there is a development in data. Anna and chatbots, they can interact with data. The world is becoming much and more data driven, and there are people, and I am also working on artificial intelligence, which is actually machine learning. If you are not aware of those things, it has to be related. I just gave you some indications. I give you some indications that shine through this episode, but you have to pick it up. And that's why when I say to you, take action, go to my community, it's because people who really understand what I mean will get secret information. When you join my information, when you join my community, I will not spam you, but after you join, you will also be considered and notified when my next program, my next exciting signature program launches. And that program is about China. That program is about analyzing the Asian economy. I've been telling this for weeks now. The world is moving towards more dominance of Asian markets. You see with this coronavirus how something happening in China impacts the world. Why is that? Because there are many value chains, and a value chain is just a process, a step process, how businesses and sectors of businesses are connected. So if you thought that we are only talking about data, which is macro data, that's our first focus, then you are not right, because we're going to talk about data, but we are also interested in all kind of data. That's why this show is called Data Analysis and Policy. And through the value chains, you now see how the world shivers because there is a cold in China. And that cold in China, how it disrupts the economies in the world. So I'm studying and working with all my students and my partners that I invest with, and policymakers that I advise. I'm working and I'm studying the reports, for instance, that have been published by the IMF about the impact of the coronavirus on the coronavirus on the world, how China impacts the world. So when you are on board, that's the last thing I want to say. When you on board in my community, you will be the first one to learn about this exciting journey that we're going to take. And this journey has already started, because I already started telling you about China. But once the door opens for this program, you will be first to notified. And I will not be mentioning it to everybody. Okay? So just go there, click m.me/policy in paradise. Click below on that link, and you need to have Facebook for that to work. Okay, so if you are looking at this on LinkedIn, on YouTube, or on Facebook, especially LinkedIn and YouTube, you need to click in there, and then you go to that page, and you need to have Facebook and to be able to be onboarded in my community. Okay, that's the way to do it right now. So if you are in LinkedIn, share this episode so that more people can see this episode. By helping me, you help me create more awareness. You help me bring to the world that data analysis and policy, how to do that. And if you are on YouTube, just click on this channel, and then just like this channel, also forward it to other people. So that was my episode. This was the Data Analysis and Policy Show for you from the Caribbean, Willemstad, Curacao. I'm signing out, and till next week. And please like this page on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. You can also follow me on Twitter, but that's for another episode. So thank you very much, and see you next time. Don't forget to ask your questions below, because when you ask a question, I can answer and I can learn. That's it. See you next week. Bye.